Thrilled to welcome Symphony 3 to the Local Government News Roundup family. If you're a local council, you know how challenging it can be to manage data across all your different systems. That's where Symphony 3 comes in. They've developed Smart Glue, a platform that integrates over 55 council systems, automating data flow without the need for manual work. It turns confusion into simplicity. With Smart Glue, councils save time, reduce errors and empower staff to focus on what really matters. Their clients see a real difference, up to 20% boost in productivity, with savings of over $30,000 per integration every year. Symphony 3 helps councils work smarter, faster and more efficiently, all while better supporting the communities they serve. Mornington Peninsula's new CEO. Port Phillip urged to reconsider a controversial sleeping rough proposal. Buloke allows a festival to go ahead. Ballarat's vandalism troubles continue. The results of Victoria's first ever councillor census revealed. A Bendigo director named CEO of Murray River Council. A New South Wales CEO on leave as an investigation commences. And South East Queensland councils working overtime as Tropical Cyclone Alfred approaches. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy, back with the Local Government News Roundup, your number one source for all that's happening around the local government sector, and brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. Heading this edition for Wednesday the 5th of March, Mornington Peninsula Shire Council has appointed Mark Stormer as its new Chief Executive Officer. Mr Stormer is currently Director of Corporate Services at Brimbank City Council, but he's a former CEO of Douglas Shire in Queensland and Victoria's Nillumbik Shire Council. Mayor Anthony Marsh welcomed the appointment, describing Mr Stormer as a highly respected and experienced leader with strong financial acumen. Mr Stormer said he's excited about working in what he calls the crown jewel of Victoria and pledged to bring a community focus while ensuring council sustainability. Bulent Oz will continue as acting CEO until Mr Stormer commences on the 16th of April. A controversial new measure under consideration by Port Phillip Council has attracted much scrutiny this week, with reporting from The Age and other media outlets. The proposal would allow fines to be issued to people sleeping rough on council land. A unanimous vote by councillors has approved an investigation into changing local laws to prohibit rough sleeping on council property, roads and footpaths. It comes as the area experiences an 11.4% rise in criminal incidents in the last year, with residents voicing concerns about encampments in suburbs like St Kilda. The Premier, Jacinta Allen, has reportedly urged the council to reconsider the proposal. Council officers have been asked to prepare a report by May, including an assessment of whether the measures would breach human rights laws. The esoteric festival near Donald in Western Victoria has received a reprieve. It will proceed after Buloke Shire councillors voted to approve the event permit, despite earlier recommendations from council staff to shut it down. But organisers will need to comply with nearly 50 environment, health, fire and traffic conditions. Festival organiser Sam Goldsmith told ABC News it was a victory for common sense. The councillors only granted approval for this year instead of the requested 10-year permit. The event was thrown into doubt last week when council staff cited health and safety concerns, including a gastroenteritis outbreak that affected around 250 attendees last year. Mayor Alan Getley reported receiving over 300 messages from supporters of the event, while local businesses have been preparing for the economic boost from the sold-out festival, which is expected to bring more than $15 million into the local economy. Boroondara Mayor Sophie Tawney has voiced strong opposition to the state government's designation of Kew Junction, Ashburton, Williston and Riversdale as new activity centres targeted for increased development. Mayor Tawney claims local councils are being excluded from meaningful consultation, despite government assurances to the contrary. The city of Boroondara says it has already developed balanced growth plans that preserve the area's heritage and character, and warns that recent changes to development standards will permanently alter the neighbourhood's unique identity. The Mayor is calling for greater infrastructure investment to support growth in appropriate locations. And while on infrastructure Victoria has unveiled a sweeping 30-year plan aimed at transforming the state's transport network. The independent advisory body proposes extending Melbourne's tram routes to areas like Fisherman's Bend and Moorabbin, while establishing a new rapid transit bus network across 5 major routes. The plan also recommends reducing speed limits to 30 kilometres per hour on local streets, particularly around schools and playgrounds, more accessible public transport with reduced off-peak fares, improved regional connections and dedicated cycling corridors. The total investment would run into billions, including $5 billion for tram extensions and $3.5 billion for rapid bus network. ABC News has produced a summary of the key points of the strategy along with reaction from some residents and councillors. The federal government has committed $1.1 million to transform the ageing Ballarat airport terminal into an aeromedical patient transfer and emergency services facility. The total project would cost $2.3 million. The city of Ballarat is celebrating the investment, which it says will significantly improve conditions for emergency personnel and patients by creating a dedicated indoor space for transfers that currently take place outdoors on the apron. Mayor Tracy Hargraves said the announcement is essential to realising the vision for Ballarat Airport as the key air transport hub for the west of the state. And while in Ballarat, the council CEO Evan King has denied the city has a vandalism problem despite several recent destructive incidents. In the latest, the giant begonia letters on Sturt Street have been smashed. This follows recent damage to the Prime Minister's Avenue busts and the Botanic Gardens floral clock. Mr King told 3BA the acts are committed by a small percentage of the population and that the council is working closely with Victoria Police to address the issues. More council news briefs. The Governor of Victoria, the Honourable Margaret Gardner AC, recently completed a comprehensive 2-day tour of East Gippsland Shire, visiting key industries, training centres and cultural landmarks while engaging with local community leaders. A contract for design and construction of a new Tatura skate park has been awarded by Greater Shepparton Council, with site preparation work set to begin at McTeer Gardens Precinct. The modern facility will provide an inclusive space for skaters, BMX riders and scooter enthusiasts of all skill levels. Mitchell Shire Council has welcomed $45 million in federal government funding to upgrade Old Sydney Road in Beveridge, a crucial project to improve safety and provide reliable alternative access amid rapid population growth. It's part of a broader infrastructure initiative that includes the Watson Street and Camerons Lane interchange upgrades, all aimed at reducing congestion and supporting the region's development needs. You're listening to the Local Government News Roundup. It's Wednesday the 5th of March. Our podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, which has this week released the findings from the state's first ever councillor census, revealing significant challenges faced by local representatives. Over 300 councillors responded to the survey, which found the average councillor is 57 years of age and dedicates nearly 30 hours weekly to council duties, work that many feel is inadequately compensated. Perhaps most concerning, the census revealed widespread experiences of hostile behaviour, with 41% of women councillors and 26% of men reporting regular intimidation from fellow councillors. VLGA CEO Catherine Arndt says the groundbreaking data will help address barriers preventing councillors from seeking re-election and inform government policy moving forward. The VLGA plans to conduct the census annually to track changes in councillor demographics and experiences. You can learn more about the census and the next steps on a special edition of VLGA Connect coming away on Friday on YouTube and podcast. Moving on to our New South Wales report, and in breaking news out of Shell Harbour, the council CEO Mike Archer has reportedly taken leave after a confidential session of councillors on Monday. The Illawarra Mercury reported the meeting was called to hear a report on personnel matters. An investigation is believed to be underway into an incident alleged to have occurred at a staff Christmas party. The council told the masthead that it was a private matter between the council and the CEO. Executive Director of Business Enterprises, Wade Peterson, has been appointed acting CEO for the time being. Stacey Williams has been appointed as the new CEO of Murray River Council. Ms Williams is currently the Director of Healthy Communities and Environments at the City of Greater Bendigo and has 19 years of local government experience, including previous roles at the shires of Gannawarra and Campaspe. She's an Echuca Moama local who also chairs the Echuca Regional Health Board. Sarah Ryan has been acting CEO since Terry Dodd's departure for Queensland last November, and she'll continue to act in the position until Ms Williams commences officially on the 14th of April. In news from the most recent meeting of Newcastle City Council, the council has taken a stand against state housing approval reforms by requesting the state government adjust the threshold for state significant development in Newcastle. The Herald reported that councillors have branded some of the state's reforms as an attempt to strip council planning powers by stealth. The council also addressed a government push to ban ticketless infringement notices for parking and will advocate for SMS notification services rather than physical tickets to protect parking officers from potential harm. Proposed changes to council meeting rules have been branded as unbelievably stupid and chauvinistic by councillors at Wollongong. The Mercury reported on the council's debate about its submission to the draft meeting rules, which were due in last week. Councillor concerns included restrictions on holding private briefing sessions, limiting councillors' ability to attend meetings online, and requiring all councillors to stand when the Lord Mayor enters the chamber. Singleton Council will introduce a FOGO waste collection service on June 30, featuring weekly green bin and fortnightly red-yellow bin collections, urban residents having the option to pay extra for weekly red bin collection. The Singleton Argus reported that the announcement sparked backlash on social media last week, despite there being no objections during the council meeting where the resolution passed. Central Coast Council has adopted a master plan for the Central Coast Airport that includes upgrading it to a Code 1B aerodrome without extending the 1,200-metre runway. The plan focuses on general aviation activities and emergency services while protecting the Porters Creek wetland through a biodiversity stewardship agreement. And the New South Wales Government has abandoned plans for a new school in Chatswood, a decision that Willoughby Council says undermines years of strategic planning for the area's growth. The council is urging the government to reconsider the decision and provide a plan for supporting the area's infrastructure needs amid significant housing development. It's all eyes on Tropical Cyclone Alfred in Queensland as it bears down on the southeast Queensland coast. Councils have swung into action with information and support services. Gold Coast Council is urging residents to get ready, providing advice on how to prepare and opening sandbag stations in 3 locations. All Gold Coast beaches have been closed due to large swells and hazardous conditions. Redland City reported high demand at sandbagging stations across the city, urging patience as they continuously replenish supplies and maintain a limit of 10 sandbags per vehicle. Help was called in to manage traffic and extra supplies were due to arrive from interstate. A major accident on the M1 wasn't helping matters any yesterday. All Moreton Bay customer service centres are closed until next Monday, weather permitting, and waste facilities will be closed later today. Curbside bin collection services for Thursday and Friday are suspended, with catch-up services planned from next week. The region's councils have disaster dashboards accessible through their websites with an array of information for residents. Sunshine Coast is a prime example, with information on places of refuge, road conditions, power outages and warnings, and links to other agencies and resources. All councils are providing regularly updated information for residents through their various communications channels. In Townsville, the City Council is urging residents to maintain medium-level water restrictions while repairs to a critical water pipeline damaged during recent extreme weather take place. The damaged pipeline has forced the Northern Water Treatment Plant offline for 4 to 6 weeks, with the entire city now being supplied by the Douglas Water Treatment Plant. More news in brief. The Australian Local Government Association has made a submission to a government review of the Recycling and Waste Reduction Act, emphasising that local governments are crucial partners in resource recovery, providing essential infrastructure while protecting local environments. Former Queanbeyan-Palerang Mayor Frank Pangello, the city's longest-serving mayor and first elected from a non-British background, will be honoured by having the Heritage Library named after him in recognition of his significant contributions to the region. Griffith is set to host the 2025 Australian Local Government Women's Association New South Wales Conference in May, welcoming over 100 delegates and generating an estimated $200,000 for the local economy. And the city of Kalgoorlie-Boulder has unanimously endorsed 2 strategic frameworks that will guide its advocacy efforts and partnerships with various levels of government. They aim to position Kalgoorlie-Boulder as a leading regional economic hub while ensuring local priorities remain at the forefront of governmental discussions. This is the Local Government News Roundup for Wednesday the 5th of March. It's edition number 435, brought to you by the VLGA with support from Symphony 3, Simple Connected Customer Experiences. In South Australia, the Essential Services Commission has rung some alarm bells this week, issuing warnings about the financial sustainability of 6 of the state's councils. In Daily reports that Alexandrina, Tumby Bay, Renmark Paringa, Flinders Ranges and Woodina councils have all been flagged for concerning financial projections. Adelaide City Council and the District Council of Loxton-Waikerie were also ranked as potentially unsustainable in the future, while Gawler received mixed ratings. Alexandrina Council CEO Andrew McDonald responded yesterday by reassuring the community that the council had not been idle since the review was being compiled. He said the council has made significant changes to its draft long-term financial plan and is on track to be in surplus by 2026-27. I've yet to see reaction from any of the other councils named in the report. The warnings come as part of a mandatory 4-year assessment scheme introduced in 2021 as an alternative to rate capping. Key issues identified include underfunded asset renewals and an over-reliance on above-inflation rate increases. The Local Government Association CEO Clinton Jury has defended councils, noting they're being asked to take on more responsibilities with diminishing federal support. And a biosecurity bill has been passed by the South Australian Parliament, providing councils in that state with greater protection against funding of dog fence infrastructure. The bill limits the circumstances in which the Dog Fence Board can require council contributions. Key amendments secured by the LGA of South Australia ensure councils can only be levied under specific conditions, with mandatory consultation requirements and ministerial approvals needed before any charges can be imposed. Now it's time for our global roundup. Starting in the UK today, and I've got stories from the US and Canada to come. Nottingham City Council has apologised after one of its street cleaning teams was caught dumping collected rubbish onto a grass verge, contradicting their own anti-fly tipping campaign. It says the team was immediately sent back to clear the rubbish and that correct procedures are being reinforced with its teams to prevent any recurrence. The Telegraph reported that the incident is the latest controversy for the council, which also recently imposed restrictions on grave decorations, limiting flowers to 1 week after funerals and removing other memorabilia without notice. In Scotland, the National reports that Aberdeen City Council workers are being balloted on industrial action by GMB Scotland due to concerns over potential fire and rehire tactics. The dispute centres around proposed contract changes that would reduce full-time workers' hours from 37 to 35 hours per week and implement a pay freeze. The council says the proposals have been modified based on feedback from trade unions, and they've now entered a period of formal consultation. A new survey has revealed that almost 9 in 10 of England's largest councils are using artificial intelligence across various services, including administration, adult social care, children's services and roads maintenance. But the County Council Network says councils are facing barriers to progress in the use of AI, including lack of staff capacity, funding and training. Despite the challenges, the majority of councils report that AI has improved staff productivity and services, though ethical considerations, workforce limitations and potential disinformation remain concerns. To the US, in Los Angeles County, the council has allocated $17 million in grant funding to expand parkland and open space territory across 13 projects totalling 623 acres. The grants focus on areas that lack open space or parks. Additionally, the county has announced a new Restore grant to support fire recovery and climate resiliency efforts in communities affected by wildfires, windstorms and environmental disasters. In Florida, Crestview City Council has unanimously agreed to draft an ordinance banning smoking in all city parks, expanding current restrictions that only apply to certain areas. The proposed ban would prohibit smoking and vapour-generating devices in all city-owned parks to address public health concerns, park cleanliness and to protect the city's investment in park facilities. GetTheCoast.com has more on that story. Denver City Council is set to address regulations for psychedelic-assisted therapies involving magic mushrooms at their meeting this week. Colorado voters approved the decriminalisation of the so-called magic mushrooms over 2 years ago, making it the second state in the US to take such action. The Denver Gazette reports that the proposal would establish local licensing for natural medicine facilities, while repealing a 2019 ordinance that deprioritised criminal enforcement. City officials believe local licensing could help mitigate community risks. And to Canada, Elizabethtown Kitley Council, a rural township in eastern Ontario, has voted to limit their own virtual meeting attendance to just 4 times a year, while also banning virtual participation in closed sessions over confidentiality concerns. CBC News reported that not all council members support the decision. Councillor Eleanor Renault, who voted against the compromise, expressed frustration with the restrictions. She says the world has changed and this is the norm. Meanwhile, a decision on requiring township staff to work exclusively from the office has been deferred pending a staff report. Town CAO Robert Nolan defended remote work arrangements, contending that staff productivity hasn't suffered. The matter is expected to return to the council later in March. And we'll stay in Ontario for our final story today. Kingston City Council plans to protest a high-speed rail plan from rail operator Via Rail, which would bypass the city, according to thewig.com. The council considers it a breach of trust after previously supporting a high-frequency rail system where Kingston would serve as a regional hub. It's proposing to withdraw support for the new high-speed rail line and is requesting Via Rail to honour its original promise of making Kingston a regional hub. You've been listening to the Local Government News Roundup for Wednesday the 5th of March, edition number 435. If you have any comments or feedback or story ideas, you can send me an email at lgweeklynews@gmail.com and find out more about this episode, including story links, at lgnewsroundup.com. The podcast is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences. And thanks to the many of you who help make the podcast possible by supporting us through a monthly subscription. Support starts at $3 per month, around $5 Australian or less, and you can cancel your subscription at any time. You'll find the details on the website or in your podcast player. The Local Government News Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening and bye for now. A councillor's commitment to community doesn't stop when their time as an elected representative ends. In recognition of this and to strengthen its ongoing support for former councillors, the VLGA has launched an alumni program open to anyone who has held an elected position in local government. By becoming a VLGA alumnus, former councillors will have access to VLGA programs and special alumni networking events, as well as the opportunity to participate in forums and share key learnings and insights to inform sector advocacy. You'll be kept up to date on local government news and be able to participate in VLGA events and professional development opportunities at a special VLGA alumni member rate. To find out more about this exciting opportunity, visit www.vlga.org.au.